Hi, this is Ethan with Digital Bits, and things might look a little different today, and that's because we're going to test something out. I'll provide some more information about my shooting setup in a later video, but today I wanted to take this opportunity to test out this shooting setup that I've got going on here to show you some of the technology I use for shooting my YouTube videos. So. Primarily, I use Sony cameras. I've used Sony cameras going back to some of their single lens translucent technology in the photography days. And I've used their video cameras going back to their 1080 and DV cam and earlier than that. But lately I've moved into some of their compact camcorder cameras for YouTube videos. And the one I'm using today, I've got here to show you. So this is the Sony AX700. This camera is a 1-inch sensor camcorder with Zeiss optics, 4K capable. It can do 4K 30, it can do 1080p up to 120 frames per second. It is a prosumer camcorder. It's designed for commercial applications or high-end consumer applications. What we've got here is the first or one of 3 cameras that were released by Sony. It was the AX700, the PXW Z90, and the HXR NX80. They were all released at the same time. Effectively, they were all very similar camcorders. They're all 1-inch sensor camcorders. They have different physical characteristics in that the NX80 and the Z90 have a handle that comes off the top, so you'll see XLR inputs, etc. on the top. This is designed very similar like the consumer AX100 camcorder. Now that camcorder is designed for consumers, like I said, but it has a simplified menu structure, it has a simplified codecs, it doesn't have some of the professional software features that this one has, or the NX80 or the Z90 have. So what we've got here is a pretty traditional camcorder layout. This one has a loop on it, which I don't always leave on, but it is pretty helpful. I wear glasses, so it's useful to be there. It also has a lens hood on the front, which is easily removable, just like that. Get it to refocus. So it's easily removable. It just screws on. It's a plastic bayonet mount. It doesn't have a built-in shutter, which is one of the things that I love about Canon and some of the other JVC camcorders out there. But the is removable. Comes with a traditional lens cap, and that's it right there. That's the basic camera. Now what we've got is we've got a 3-inch flip screen. It has a touch functionality, although not in everywhere. We've got a handle on the right, and on this handle we've got full-size HDMI port, DC in port, record, start, stop, and then a nipple for controlling the menus. On the left side of the body, we've got an auto manual switch. Automatic puts all of the iris gain and shutter into auto mode. In addition to that, we've got a built-in 4-step ND filter. Off is clear, 1, 2, and 3, 1/64, 1/16, and 1/4 ND. Now, like I said, this does have a full-size HDMI port, which is something that you have a hard time finding in camcorders, particularly the smaller camcorders. On the right side, you've got a Lank remote port. You've got the zoom rocker. You've got a couple customizable buttons. You've got 4, 5, and 6. Then you've got the 1/8-inch microphone input, just a standard 1/8-inch or 3.5 millimeter microphone input. And then you've got a USB port, which I have no idea what you use that for. Probably updating firmware. I've never actually used one in any of my Sony cameras. I guess I just don't update firmware. On the top, you've got a Sony exclusive, what they call a multi-interface shoe. I don't know if you can see in there, but right at the front of the shoe there are some electronic contacts. And that's for passing power and data between accessories, and we'll get to that in a second. Got a microphone. This is a stereo microphone. Some of the camcorders that share this body style will have 5.1 channel microphones, but I mean, I don't know how good they are in real life. On this side, you've got some very interesting controls. You've got your switch here, which changes between zoom and focus for this ring at the front. I tend to keep it on focus because the rocker is there for zoom. Autofocus, manual focus switch. Got a menu button. 3 quick buttons for iris gain and shutter speed. Once you select one, you can use this wheel that's at the front of the camera to control them. And you've got a headphone in port right there. 3.5mm headphone. Opening up the screen, this is a touch screen, like I said before. You've got a bunch of quick buttons, power button, display. This changes the functions that are visible on the display. White balance, which cycles through white balance functions. You can have it cycle through, similar to the photography cameras, you can have it cycle through auto white balance, fluorescence, daylight, cloudy, all that sort of stuff. Or you can set it to a pre-configured Kelvin white balance. Picture profile. This is a very important button. It's something that you will use. Picture profiles are customizable. Slow and quick, which is custom button number 1. Status check, custom button number 2. Anything you see with a number next to it is a function that you can reassign. Up at the top is a thumbnail button, which is the button that you click if you want to watch the clips or whatever. Slot select, and the reason you have that is because you have 2 SD cards. You can set these up in such a way using this slot select button to either do relay recording, where it fills up one card and then goes to the other. You can set it with proxy recording, or you can set it with dual recording, where it records to both SD cards at the same time. I found that this is a feature, this full-size HDMI on a camera typically puts you in a particular price class. It just seems that this is really hard to find on cameras in the sub $1,000 price class. You're pretty much at the $1,600 and above, the GH5s of the world, and some dedicated prosumer level camcorders and above to get 2 card slots in a full-size HDMI. These cameras use the Sony Infinilithium V battery. So this is a 70, they call it a FV70A. It's a pretty inexpensive battery. It's $60 or $80 to pick one up. The nice thing about the batteries is they're very light. And on this camera, the battery in place gives about 2 hours and 20 minutes of 4K 30 recording, which is about as much as I would expect from a battery that small. Once you place it in, there's 2 ways to turn the camera on. You can either pull out the viewfinder, and you probably heard it turn on there, or you can open the screen, and that turns it on as well. Now, the interesting thing about this camera is that there's lots of functionality that you just wouldn't expect to have, and one of the things that makes this significantly different than some of the very similar bodied consumer grade camcorders is the menu system. So this uses a menu system that, if you're familiar with any of the professional Sony cameras, you're very familiar with this menu system. It's actually not as complicated as people seem to say. It's pretty straightforward. If you're in the menu that looks like a camera, you're going to be setting camera settings. If you're in the menu that it looks like an I/O, in and out, you're going to be setting up your video in, video out, or your shooting mode, recording set, which is the frame rate, or 4K, 1080p, etc. So you can pick AVC, XAVCS, you can pick your format, etc. If it looks like a music note, it's your audio. If it looks like a TV, it's your display information. If it looks like a time, I don't know if you can see that, but that looks like a clock somehow. You can set your time code. Wi-Fi signal, you can set up your smartphone remote control. And then if you're in the last one, it's just basically all your file management, your profile saves, etc. So it's pretty straightforward, and you control it all using this nipple over here on the right. All right, now let's get back to this multi-interface shoe. So like I said before, you've got this door on the top that looks like a traditional hot shoe. And it is a traditional hot shoe. What's different about it is that Sony sells a ton of accessories that can fit in there and use it. And like I said before, data and power can be transmitted over those pins that are inside the hot shoe. So my audio solution that I've been using pretty much exclusively outside of this video is this. So this is the Sony Bluetooth, I forget the model number, but it's basically a Bluetooth wireless lavalier system that uses a receiver that has pins that line up with the hot shoe pins. So it just slides right into the multi-interface shoe, and there you go. Your receiver's connected into the audio. Auto gain controls enabled. You have full control over audio settings. And then this lavalier pack just goes in your talent. This is a Bluetooth connection, so you get about 60 feet or so. It uses a AAA battery. It has a microphone grill on top, but in addition to that, you've got a 3.5mm lavalier port. So let's go ahead and turn the camera on so I can show you what happens. So when the camera is not, or when the receiver is not connected, it flashes blue. As soon as it senses the receiver, they go solid blue and they're on. If you look at the screen, you'll see in the lower right hand corner, you'll see the audio levels. This is currently working, so if I get it closer to my mouse, you see the audio levels go up. Further away, audio levels go down. Now, I found that this is perfectly adequate quality. Sony sells a bunch of other microphones for different circumstances. They've got a zoom microphone, a microphone that will zoom with the camera when it goes in and out. It also does a traditional shotgun. They sell XLR ports and professional audio expansion that can go into this port. They sell a bunch of other things. They even sell lights that can be used on top of the camera, like video lights. This package is pretty small, and if you look at it in this form, it actually looks about the same as the Sony AX100. Now, the AX100 is a wholly consumer-focused camcorder. The technology built into it physically is the same. You have the same 1-inch sensor, you have the same or similar lens, you have the same batteries, you have the similar ports. What you don't have is this section on the side is significantly different on the AX100. So all the controls that are on the back here and the full-size HDMI port, they're moved to other places. The HDMI port, I believe, is under the display over here, and it's not full size. It's a mini or a micro. I believe it's a micro. The microphone in and the USB are actually on the handle. The USB is actually a male USB that comes out of the side of the camera. It's actually a cable that sort of tucks into, get the camera to focus here, that tucks into the grip here. So it's a very similar camera. It just isn't quite the same as far as technology that's available, both from a software point of view and from an I/O point of view. All the accessories between them are the same between all four of the cameras: the AX100, the AX700, the Z90, NX80. They all use the same multi-interface shoe accessories. However, on the NX80, you have the handle, and on the Z90, you have a handle that connects into the multi-interface shoe and provides XLR audio on the output. So anyway, I thought this was a good opportunity to show the camera, give a good overview of some of the features. I've been pretty happy with this. I've had it for about 2.5, 3 months now. This replaced my A7, which was a 1080p mirrorless full-frame camera. It replaced it for video. I decided to move to 4K, and when I did that, the A7 wasn't really holding up anymore. So that's a good overview of my AX700 camera. This is one of several that I use, and I'm actually going to go through and give some more information about some of the other cameras that I use. I use some other Sony products. I use some Blackmagic design products, and we'll go through them as you and I develop a relationship here on YouTube. But thanks for watching. If this is the kind of content that you'd like to see more of, please take a chance and subscribe. I hope to provide some pretty intense rigging information about how I rigged this setup, how I ran this particular recording. I will show some more laptop reviews. I'll show some more camera information, like I said, and I'll even show some lighting. I've been playing around with some LED lighting that's pretty cool, so I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks. This is Ethan with Digital Bits. Thanks for watching.